Hello there and welcome back to my channel. So, part 2. I just had a little look at the back end of last week's video. God, my voice sounded rough. I don't think I was doing too well last week, to be honest. Not quite sure why, but I didn't sound good. Croaky throat and sounded tired, which is probably true. So this week we're a little bit better, I think. I feel a little bit more chirpy. I've been for a walk today. That's good. I might do some weights in a minute or two, and then I'm going in the shower, and then I'm going to hopefully play some games online with a friend of mine. And then after that, I do intend on watching V for Vendetta, as is my tradition, with it being November 5th. I'm sure you can hear what sounds like gunshots outside. It isn't, it's fireworks. So forgive all the pops, bangs and wheezes that you can hear. There's not much I can do about it. So, yeah, continuing on with the theme from last week. I think that one of the reasons why I sounded so tired is because, for me, it is quite a heavy subject, and it was kind of difficult to talk about, and I guess it still is. Last week I was in a lot darker place with my thoughts. This week I'm a little brighter, as I said, so hopefully that'll help. So I'll be blunt. So I'll drop a trigger warning on screen for this if I can, but just so you know, talk of ending yourself. Okay, so I'll try and put timestamps on where I move past said subject, but that's an extreme case of what I'm about to go talk about. So, how to approach this? When you feel down, when you're feeling sad and low and depressed, and you even do get to that point, which, you know, it's not where you want to be. You think the only way is up. That's the positive outlook, but you can always find a way to drift further down somehow. It's not good. Your brain does horrible things to you. It lies to you. It tells you horrible things, and this is all predictable stuff that you can hear from any online or phone therapist. They will just say, "Oh well, your brain's lying to you. Don't listen to it. You know, there's people out there that love you." And it's like, great, but I know you are, with the best of intentions, you are reading off a sheet, and as true as it is, if you don't believe it, then I wouldn't believe it either. And don't get me wrong, therapists, they do an absolutely fantastic job. These online therapists, I don't know how they do it, but at the same time, you can't get that close and personal with absolutely everybody, and it's tough. So it's natural to feel that when you're talking to a therapist, they're kind of just nodding their head and reading off a sheet. I've had that a few times with some of the the phone therapists, and they don't care. They're paid to sit there and give verbal nods. That's literally it. You don't get any real support. It's just it's basically a confessional booth, you know, somewhere to air your thoughts. And if you do sound like you're in danger, then they'll just say, you know, ring the emergency services, or they'll ring them for you sometimes. But yeah, so, you know, there's no real belief in what they're saying, and I'm not here to convince you that they're telling the truth either, because at the end of the day, if you don't want to believe it, if your mind doesn't want to believe it, it won't believe it. But I'm going to try and come at it from another angle and try and convince you potentially that people do care. And I'll go through a few examples here. So, I mean, the most obvious one here is your family, your immediate family. If you've got parents, siblings, whatever. Now, I'm really lucky in that I've got a really good family, a really nice family. Don't get me wrong, we have our tiffs and what have you. Me and my dad are quite similar. We're both hot-headed, we're both headstrong. So, and politically we don't agree either. And for the want of a better word, there's always been some level of daddy issues forever. That's a topic for another day, though. And maybe a hypnotherapist, perhaps. But generally speaking, I've got parents that care, and while Dad, he doesn't understand mental health struggles. Bless him. I think he would if he could, but he just hasn't got the capacity to understand what goes on up there, and it makes it difficult. And he's got the impression of why don't you just do this? And it's like this is telling me not to do whatever, and he doesn't get it. But in saying that, I've got parents that I know don't want anything to happen to me. I've got a lot of love from my parents, which is great. Really pleased about that, and it's something that I know not many people out there have. So it's not something I take for granted. So in my case, those are two people that would notice if I went missing. And that's not just because I live with them. You have more of an impact on your folks than you think. At the end of the day, they brought you into this world. And, generally speaking here, obviously I can't deal with individuals. Your parents, they've seen you grow from nothing to everything you are. With any luck, they'll have supported you through most of it, and probably told you not to do the other half of it. But you are a significant part of their existence, and even if you don't see them every day, I dare say your folks think about you every day for the most part. Like I said, not every parent, but most parents, I'd say. Even if you don't have a good relationship with your folks, they will still think of ways to try and make things right, or try and, have you in their life in some way, shape or form. And that's, I don't know if you can call that a social footprint, and more a family thing. That's different in social hierarchy. I'm no social expert, I can't. I'm just giving opinions here. So don't think that I'm a therapist. I'm just going from experience and what I think and what I've learned based on life. Generally speaking, I do believe that most parents do think about their kids on a daily basis. So there's two. And then I also span off into that and mentioned siblings. So in my case, 2 brothers and several cousins. I don't quite know how many. There's quite a few of them though. But again, those are people that if something happened to you, they would be affected by it, even in such a minor way. Like, I've only seen a couple of my cousins once in their entire lives. We're just not that close. Different families, different perspectives. My family here with my mum and dad, we've never been that family, do everything together family. We've never been like that. So as a result, we haven't really pulled together with other parts of the family either. But if anything happened, or if I think I needed help, I'd like to think that my cousins would at least want to hear my side of something and step up to help if they could. and my brothers as well. While we don't live in the same house anymore, we get together and have a gaming night. It's like nothing, like not no one's left. We just sit down as, you know, three adults, play games, make stupid jokes, laugh at each other, you know, and that's the way it should be. And the impact on their lives, again, I think about them a lot and what they're doing, you know, and I'm forever finding good words to say about both my brothers, actually, because they're both doing really, really well. I'm really proud of both of them. Couldn't even tell you, especially through the struggles that they've had in one thing and another. There's been some absolutely horrid stuff that they've had to contend with, and yet they're both surviving and thriving, bless them. So I'm proud of them for that. And so I think about the impact that I've had on their lives, but also the impact that they've had on me. Like my little brother was, he's now following me on Strava. Such a simple thing, but it's just that little boost. It's that little social step that really pushes you forward. Where are we at? 11 minutes. Okay. But then there's the big one. This is your wider net. This is your friends and your work colleagues and everything in between. I mean, over the space of what, I had my first job when I was 17. I think it was. Yeah, 17. I think it was. Maybe 16. I just left secondary school. Yeah, 1999 anyway. And from that point, you're already starting to build up relationships with people at work. In my case, it was obviously the workmates, customers. Then you move on to another job where it was a factory. In my case, again, your workmates, people in different bits of the factory. Office jobs, which can be a pretty much revolving door of people coming in and out. Absolutely crazy, some of the retention in some of these companies. I'm fairly sure some people out there know who I'm talking about. But what I will say with that one, actually, quick editing, I've come to terms with it. It was my fault. They did nothing wrong. I should have been getting the help. So, you know, there's that. But yeah, so many people whose lives you touch, even in such a minor way. It can be one thing, it can be such a tiny thing, but people remember and like, oh yeah, was that the guy who? And it can be a good or it can be a bad touch. That's the problem. But it's a touch regardless, and it's sometimes how people will remember you. Now I try and be good to everybody. You know, I try and make a good impression. I try not to be horrible to anybody. Sometimes, if I'm in a slump, my mood gets the better of me. I'm only human, and like I say, I'm in a slump at the moment, and I'm struggling. So, you know, sometimes I'm not as welcoming as I would like to be. I think anyone can agree with that, though. Sometimes you're just in a mood, you don't want to talk to people. But generally speaking, people remember the good things and the good touches, or the really bad things. Or they'll say, oh, is that the guy who set the building on fire? And it's like, yeah, that's him. That wasn't me. I didn't do that. That's not what I meant earlier. No, I never set the building on fire that I'm aware of. No, I never did anything like that. Never had any intentions of blowing the place up or anything. But yeah, I mean, the amount of people that I trained when I was at that company, which was my joy. It was the thing that brought me the most joy. It was something I absolutely adored. I thought I'd found my calling in life. Maybe I did, just not for that company, but we'll see, won't we? But yeah, each person that I trained, you know, you kind of leave a social touch on them. And I dare say people that, you know, you could ask at that company now, and people who I trained would still remember who I was and what my disposition was like and what I looked like. It's just so strange to think that there are so many people out there who I trained over the years, who I've become friends with, being part of teams and what have you, not just at that company, but at other companies as well. And your social footprint, when you start to think about all the people that are from those kind of places, like I'm just talking about your workmates here, then your net becomes, oh, and your footprint, I suppose, your social footprint. You said the word, ding. Your social footprint becomes much larger. And then when you get to your social life, clubs, pubs, gigs, bands, anything else, dates if you go on any dates, you know, literally the smallest interaction with people can mean a lot, and it's just another what's the word I'm looking for? It increases the size of your footprint. Every social interaction, you know, especially if it's a good one and people remember you for it. And that's the thing. When people say, "Oh, yeah, you've got people who care about you," it's far too easy to just dismiss it and go, "Oh, no one gives a damn." But if you went missing, or if no, we'll leave it there. So if you went missing and word spread, people would remember who you are. People would say, "Is that them?" Because you've touched a lot of people, directly, indirectly. There's a lot of people who know who you are. Now, one of the big things is, I'm trying to think what the actual saying is. It's something along the lines of, I know youth is wasted on the living is one. Is on youth is wasted on the youthful is one, but I think it's something along the lines of love is wasted on the past or something like that, on those that have passed on, because no one cares until you disappear, and then as people say, people start the conversation, and everyone's like, "Oh man, I wish I could have done something," blah 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 blah, and that is true. That people care more once something's happened to you. People always look backwards and go, "I wish I could have," rather than stepping in advance. But then that's a case of you need to put yourself out there, you need to want to be helped. And that's the biggest struggle. That's the biggest struggle one of the biggest struggles that I fought was the wanting to get help. The drowning in my own misery, drinking myself to death, and denying that there was a problem. Doing stuff where I was just denying everything. I was like, "No, there's no problem. I'm in control. I know what I'm doing." I wasn't. There was a problem. I needed to sort myself out. And I have, to a degree. I'm better than I was. Much better. 3 years sober. But yeah, the point is you've got to want to reach out. And I must admit, I'm guilty of this at the moment as well. Is I'm not reaching out as much as I should do. I feel like I'm intruding because I'm not working at the moment. I feel like I'm intruding into people's lives. And here's the thing. Like I say, your social footprint's quite big. I don't care what you are, what you're doing. Your social footprint is bigger than you imagine. And those people, they won't be offended by text. You are never interrupting anyone. In that one, yes, your head is definitely lying to you, and people would rather, even if you just exchange a couple of messages, that can be that little thing, and just to make that little ping in your head go, "Oh, that person talked to me." And don't get me wrong, not everyone can talk at that moment, so don't expect access to everybody all the time, because that's just not realistic. But send a couple of messages out, maybe to people who you haven't spoken to in a while, and just say, how's it going? How's things? If they text back, there you go. If they don't, I'm sure there's someone else you can try, or just give them some time. You never know, they might just be busy with something. They might be dealing with something crap of their own and be glad of a bit of contact. So therefore, the energy is helping both of you. So yeah, just chuck a text out. Like I say, you've got a massive social web, even if you don't realise it. Just ask how someone's doing. It's that simple. Just a hi. Hi and a smiley face to anybody. Try it. Try it with me if you want to. I don't mind. Bring it on. I will try and reply to stuff. And so I'm notoriously rubbish at it at the moment, but I will do my best to get out of that habit, because it's not doing me any good being an antisocial hermit. Trying to get better, trying to go out more, so, getting back on the horse with regards to my phone and replying to people and not freaking out every time the phone goes off. That can only be a good thing. So yeah, that's my whole point. My whole point is I explained how big my social footprint is. Yours is probably very, very similar. You just don't realise it and you don't see it. So don't underestimate it. People care about you. I know it's the therapist thing, but it is the truth. People care. They care about you. They always will. So, I'm going to cut that video there. 22 minutes, whoops. I've waffled a bit longer than I intended, but I don't mind actually. I don't know if you guys do, but I don't mind waffling for this long, because I feel like more truth comes out of me, because I get more comfortable talking, and then the ADHD kicks in and I start really spewing forth whatever's in my head. I have to try and steer things back on topic sometimes, but we get there in the end, don't we? God forbid I should do one of these where I let the brain really go. I wouldn't know what category to put the conversation under. There'll be so many different things. But yeah, thanks very much for joining me today. Really appreciate it as always. If you've got any questions, if you've got any suggestions for future videos, if you've got any thoughts, anything, get me on here. Get me on my Facebook Messenger is still open. I think get me on Facebook Messenger. Hell, if you haven't got my number, I do WhatsApp. Get in contact if you want to, and it'll be good to hear some feedback, because I like putting videos out. I like doing this kind of thing, but I also, it's also good sometimes to know where to steer the subjects if there's something that people want me to talk about. So by all means, hit me with suggestions. I'm all for it. But until the next video comes out, which will hopefully be next Wednesday, and hopefully we'll be still on the at least looking in the right direction. Let's at least be there next week, looking in the right direction, even if not walking there. So until then, look after yourselves and have a good one.